My name is Mandy McEwen, and I am the founder and CEO of Mod Girl Marketing, and I am an outlier.
Welcome to Outlier on Air with Ever Gonzalez, the show where we interview the founders, disruptors, and mavens of the world. Learn how grit, failure, and success are all a part of the entrepreneurial journey.
Hey everybody, welcome to Outlier on Air, the podcast where we interview founders, disruptors, and mavens. As always, I'm your host, Ever Gonzalez. On today's episode, we have Mandy McEwen. She is the founder and CEO of Mod Girl Marketing. Mandy, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
We're excited to have you on the show. You know, looking through your history with the things that you've done, the things that you're working on now, I think that having you on the show talking about your entrepreneurial journey is going to be very beneficial to our audience. So again, thank you for being on. It's going to be amazing.
Of course. Glad to be here.
Before we get started, tell us where you're calling us from.
I am calling in from Sacramento, California.
What's life like in Sacramento when it comes to entrepreneurship and maybe even like the startup scene out there?
Well, that's probably not a good question for me. So I've lived all over California, and I'm from actually Kansas, and I started my business in Kansas City. So I've only been in the Sacramento area for a couple years.
Oh, really?
And I'm not super involved in the local community. So I've been traveling around, lived in Southern California and whatnot. But I will talk, Kansas City is great, and that's actually where I started Mod Girl. And it's why I was actually able to, I think, scale quickly, is because it's a very tight-knit community of entrepreneurs in Kansas City. And so I networked and, word of mouth. And that's really how I got started, as kind of the old school traditional networking model, even though I was starting an online marketing business. But because I was putting myself out there and attending multiple networking events every week in Kansas City, I think that definitely helped, skyrocket my success in the local area.
Yes, Kansas City is making a lot of noise. I mean, they've been doing some cool stuff out there for quite a while. We're going to get into Mod Girl Marketing here in just a sec, but real quick, what was the transition from working and doing business in Kansas City to Sacramento, and why the jump?
Yeah, well, actually, it started in Southern California. Okay. So my wife is actually a nurse and a travel nurse at the time. And so that's why we decided that
Perfect.
We have a home in Kansas, and it was just, we were ready for a change. And so we picked up and moved to LA, actually, and then have been bouncing around California for the past 5 years, and then just recently decided to live in a suburb of Sacramento, and she took a full-time position with Kaiser. And so that's why we are here permanently. Okay. But we had been just traveling around and deciding kind of where we want to go. And we even talked about moving around to different states. But once we really fell in love with California pretty shortly after moving here. So we love it, definitely.
And
so that's why.
Yeah, the beautiful part about what you do is that you can do what you're doing from just about anywhere, right?
Exactly. Yep. That is true. And so that's why we were, debating whether to continue traveling, but really California has everything that we could possibly ask for and more, and we love it. So
I love it.
That's why we're here.
Now let's paint the picture for our audience, right? Let's talk about you and jump right into Mod Girl Marketing. So tell us your marketing company. Tell us about it, when it got started and what you're doing now.
Yeah, sure. So Mod Girl Marketing is a full-service inbound marketing consultancy. So for the last, pretty much ever since I started it back in 2010, even though I was doing online marketing before that, we were, doing everything for clients from, content marketing, blogging, social media, even web design. And just recently, the end of last year, early this year, so January, we decided that we're really going to focus on our consulting, training, and coaching. So we're partnering now with companies that, let's say, they might have an existing marketing team, or at least, one or two people that, can handle the execution part in terms of writing and whatnot. And then, maybe a web designer as well. So we're really just joining forces as a collaborative strategic partner with these type of clients. And we still have, of course, our existing clientele where we continue to write their content and everything else. But we're kind of making this shift to really be more of a consultancy, if you will, instead of actually writing the content for these clients. So that's where we're at now. But we have a pretty robust team. So we have developers, designers, marketers, from everything from email marketing to social media to SEO. And so really we can advertising, anything online that a company needs to grow and scale appropriately, we can help them with essentially.
What does your perfect client look like?
Our perfect client is a really good question. Our perfect client is, so we do a lot in healthcare, and I think that's kind of where we enjoy. So I would say healthcare, which, really could be even B2B healthcare. We have some B2B clients as well. So I would say healthcare and then general B2B. As far as annual revenue, usually at least, 2 million annual revenue, and at least 2 people on their marketing team. And then, in terms of that's just the, like the facts. But really what it boils down to is if they're a good fit. So, I'm all about, the right connection and having everyone on the same page and the vibes are right and the expectations are clear and they're great to work with and they're, responding in a timely manner. And so there's a lot of actual personal, personality traits, if you will, that we look for to make sure that our team meshes well, because, it's pretty important as we're really joining their team as an extension, right? So, they're treating us and we're treating them as we're working together in this. And so if personalities don't blend well, or if, someone has to micromanage everything, I mean, there's lots of, lots of things that can go wrong, if you will. And I've been doing this for such a long time that really at the end of the day, that's what it boils down to. So we can work with clients, as small as, like I said, the 2 million, and then we can work with clients that are 100 million. It really just depends on who we're dealing with and that the expectations are clear and everyone's on the same page. And we know for certain that we can help achieve their growth goals.
I love it. As entrepreneurs, I think sometimes it's hard for us to turn potential clients down, right? Especially obviously if they bring money. But it seems that you have it for the most part figured out, where you're like, we're only going to work with people that kind of fit this mold and people that we want to work with. That's very difficult to do.
It is. And, I'm not always right. I like to think I'm a good judge of character. And, but sometimes, they creep up on you and, out of left field, you're like, whoa, what happened?
That's
like,
true.
I thought you were cool and maybe not. So it doesn't always work out perfectly, but for the most part, we're pretty great at gauging that. And that's also where the sales process and everything comes to play. Like, we start off with a smaller project, and then you really get a feel for, how their team is and how the communication is and what it's like to work with them. So you're not, and stuck in some 12-month crazy relationship that you're like, oh, geez, why did I do that? Right. So nice. We've kind of, because of our past experiences with some not so great fit clients, we've kind of shifted our model in terms of, the whole scope of work and planning in different phases to make sure that, even if we decide it's not a great fit, we're not stuck in something and we haven't put our entire heart and soul and efforts and resources into it and it's not going to work out. So, it's always a learning curve, but, especially in the beginning.
Just the fact that you're thinking about it is huge.
Right.
We don't, like I said, we don't do that very often, but good for you that you're doing that. Now, your the space that you're in right now, very competitive, right? There are small mom and pop shops to, larger agencies, companies, consulting firms, things like that. Why you could be doing just about anything else? Why this? Why now?
Yeah, so that's a good question. And that's actually kind of what I want to help people with too. So the other side of my business is what I'm doing is helping other agency owners find that exact, unique selling proposition and grow, because, I was so successful, I think, in the beginning because I embraced other agencies, right? So I started out working and collaborating with people that were more successful than me, but doing essentially the same thing I am, or maybe they were just doing web design. And so really it's a matter of, deciding what needs to happen in terms of, what the clients and their expectations, and then figuring out, well, can I do this or do I need to reach out to someone else? So I think if more agencies and more marketers had this open mind, collaborative viewpoint, that they would be a lot more successful, because I don't think I have competitors. I'm in the notion of everyone is my friend and I can collaborate with everyone, and so that's actually a community I'm trying to build, is because I think especially, people that are just starting out and making their own agency, they think that, everyone's a competitor, when that's not true, because I guarantee you have something and some skills that another agency that's further along than you doesn't have that they could leverage, And vice versa. There's other agencies out there. Maybe you're a social media expert, but you have a client that needs SEO. Well, why don't you go and join forces with someone who knows SEO or another agency? And so that's kind of my take on the whole. This is a very competitive space. I think if your heart and your head is in the right place and you genuinely want to help people and businesses grow, then you don't really have competition. I mean, someone, could say that, we lost the deal because so-and-so was, had more, let's say more. This is actually what we hear sometimes is they didn't even know we did that. So for example, if you are quoting SEO and then you lose the bid because the client came back and said, well, agency ABC also quoted us social media. Yeah. And you're like, well, crap, I do that too. You know what I mean? But they didn't know that. So it's really a matter of like how you're positioning yourself and like the rapport you're building with these people ahead of time. So that's just kind of my take on that.
I like the fact that this is obviously what you've decided to do, and you're putting your heart and your soul into this, and obviously you've seen some success because of this. Now it's in my opinion, it's somewhat easier to look at somebody else's company and then because of your expertise, be able to help them put the pieces together and help them kind of strategically put all that stuff in place. Is it harder for you to do that with your own company, or is this just second nature?
Not really. I think it's just, it again just boils down to goals, expectations, and what's important. But I feel like we have a pretty good grasp on everything in that regard. And, we started off by collaborating with other people. And so we're on the first page of Google for white label online marketing, if you will. So we have, all these agencies in our network that are also looking for that. And so, but because again, I've been doing this for so long and I've been hiring so many people for so long and we have a pretty solid team, it's obviously a lot easier for me to say this and sit here and tell you all of this because I have a really big picture of what everyone needs to be doing. And I have knowledge in pretty much every aspect of digital marketing, which I know a lot of people don't, especially if you're starting out. So, again, but that goes back to leveraging and networking and leveraging other people and their expertise.
I love it. Now, you talked about the team. How big is the team right now?
Yeah, so I have about 20, mostly freelancers, some full-time employees. But the freelancers have been working with us for years, so they're essentially part of the team. But there's about 10 of us that work together closely every single day on Slack and Basecamp and phone calls, and then we have another 10 that are copywriters and developers and designers that are mainly project-based. But I would say a total of about 20, and we're actually growing and looking right now actually to hire a marketing automation techie person that understands the marketing automation funnels and flows and software and landing pages and all that good stuff. So we're constantly growing, and I'm always looking for awesome people to join our team.
So so that's a good sized team there. Now you're running a real business, right? So how much time are you spending on running the business as opposed to being with clients and doing the creative part of it?
Yeah, that is a good question. It's a constant battle, especially with what I'm starting new ventures as well with this coaching and training side of things. So, I hired an operations manager to help me out with this last year, which has been amazing because I was literally doing everything from trying to manage and systems and keeping things organized. And it was just too much, obviously, as you can tell, plus growing. So that's helped significantly. But I would say it's a good, maybe not 50%, maybe a little less than 50% that I actually spend, working on client stuff. In the beginning, when we first bring clients on board, I'm really active and involved. But then after, I would say 3 months or so, my team usually gets the hang of it. And then I'm just checking in to make sure that everything is, moving along smoothly. And then I'm also on the conference calls and whatnot. But I would say typically after the 3 months, I'm pretty hands off, depending on the client. There's obviously some larger clients, some consulting clients that are paying for my expertise and to deal with me directly. So those are different. But for the most part, yeah, I would say maybe like 40% clients and 60% the rest of the million trillion things I have going on.
Is the balance where you want it to be right now, or do you want to tweak it?
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Good.
It's fine now. I'm trying to really get focused on creating training programs so I can help more people. Because right now we're really limited, me especially, on how many people I can help. Obviously we have blogs and I did that video for the summit and everything, but my end goal is to reach as many people as I possibly can and help them. And so when I take on clients, especially consulting clients, where it's taking up, quite a bit of my time, which I love, don't get me wrong, but that's what I'm really working on, kind of shifting so I can really reach a wider audience of small business owners and entrepreneurs to help them, give them everything that they could possibly need to learn about digital marketing and grow.
I love what you're doing. You started in 2011?
Yeah, well, technically it was 2010, but we didn't
okay.
get our LLC until 2011. So
what have you learned? What have you learned from the moment you started to now? What was the biggest lesson that you've learned?
Hire people right away.
Really?
You can't do it all yourself. One. Two, set the expectations with clients when you're dealing with clients. Coming from like the Midwest culture and honesty, integrity, and that's just my nature. I tend to overdo everything, if you will. So I overpromise, but I overdeliver too. And so scope creep happened a lot. Yeah. And it's really easy to happen, especially when you're not, comfortable with saying, hey, client, you need to pay me more. Like this is getting out of hand. Obviously, I'm way better at that now than I was back in the day when I started, but that's definitely what I would, say too, is making sure you have, set plans, expectations, and agreements so everyone's on the same page, because there are some clients out there who will try to get every little, thing out of you, and they don't care. Yeah. And if you're nice about it, then you're going to lose money.
Oh, absolutely.
So, that and the fact that you can't do it all yourself, building a great team has been essential. Mentors too, people that are smarter than me, always a plus to help you scale is hiring people that are, smarter than you, older than you, have more experience than you. So which makes sense, right? Having the right team around you, the mentors, all that good stuff. It seems like you've learned some lessons along the way. Right now, company wide, or maybe just for you individually, what scares you right now? Not having enough hours in the day.
Really?
Not really scared. It's just a matter of, kind of my focus and staying focused. I'm totally ADD, and, I have to keep myself together, if you will. So of course I have mentors and coaches and lots of people that are helping me along the way. Thank the Lord. But really it's a matter of Mandy, get focused, look at your to-do list, one thing at a time. Why are you trying to make 5 products at the same time? So it's really, that's pretty much it, is, me wanting to do everything right away. And I get really excited. I'm super passionate about what I do and I love helping people, but sometimes I just get a little too carried away and I have way too much going on, at one time. So
even now?
Yeah, kind of, but this week is way better. So, and that's another thing too, is the past couple of weeks, I've been on the phone nonstop. It's pretty crazy, literally, one day I had 7 phone calls. The next day I had 6, the next day I had 5. And so that alone, I think it was just it was burning me out. Seriously. I was I can't, I have to stay focused and I have to work, because it was, 5 o'clock and I was I haven't even worked today. I've been on the phone all day long. So that's, it's balancing. And that's another thing too. I love meeting people like yourself. And I love talking to entrepreneurs and seeing what's going on and exploring synergies and helping people out. But there's a limit. And, that's kind of what I've been struggling with this year. And mainly it was because I'm doing something new. I'm going kind of in a new direction. And so I'm wanting people's feedback. I've been sending videos to people and what do you think about this? And so I think that's part of it. This isn't completely normal. I haven't been this crazy for the last, 7 years of doing this, but it's because I'm making this shift that it's really kind of a challenge to manage my time of, clients and revenue coming in and growing the Mod Girl client side while still focusing on making these products and training programs and coaching, even though it's not making me a lot of, revenue right now.
Not yet,
and so,
yeah.
It's always a constant battle, but at the end of the day, I'm surrounded by amazing people that help me stay focused and on the right path.
Okay, then almost the opposite of that question. What are you the best at? You are the go-to, other than marketing, maybe, right? What are you the best?
I was going to say, what about marketing?
Yeah.
So when it comes to like
you tell me anything.
Yeah, so I would say, when it comes to like what we're doing from, a mod girl standpoint, I would say I'm best at instantly, modern branding and knowing what needs to be fixed and user experience without even looking at data. So stuff like that, like what is your brand really saying? What's your website really saying? And then of course, SEO and content marketing. So that's on the marketing side. So I'm like the SEO specialist, and I've been doing SEO for a decade now. But on the other side, I would say I'm good at really building rapport and making friends with pretty much anyone, and especially like making people feel comfortable about what we do and having them understand it. I would say I'm really good at that. So initially, talking to a small business owner and, after that initial conversation, they have a clear picture of what needs to happen in their business, and they know exactly how we can help them, achieve those goals. And I think that mainly comes from me doing this for so long, but I would say I'm pretty personable, and I can relate to almost anyone. So
yeah, I can see that. Yeah. From the small business owner, entrepreneur to big corporate guys, CEOs of larger firms. Good for you.
Exactly.
That's important, right? So now let me ask you this, is because of the way your mind works and the work that you're in, can you ever shut it off? I mean, are you always looking at brands or marketing campaigns that that you have nothing to do with, and are you always looking at, they could have done this better, they should have changed that, or can you just enjoy the experience of I don't know, like a Super Bowl commercial or whatever you're seeing out in the world?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say,
and does it drive you crazy?
Yeah, I would say I can't ever really shut it off, but I don't care as much about some things. Like, for example, the Super Bowl commercials, I might in my head think something, but I don't care enough to like let it get to me. While other things online that might be a little more closely related to what I do on an everyday basis, I might be like, oh, what are they doing? That doesn't even make any sense, So I don't think I can ever 100% shut it off, because it's just something innate in me that is there.
Good luck. That could be exhausting if you let it get out of control, I think.
Totally. Yes.
Now you are a perfect example of, obviously, you're talented in the on the creative side, but then you're also running this very successful company. I think there are two different types of personality or traits or talents there. With that being said, right, is what you do on the creative side and the business side, is it more of an art, more of a science? Is it both of them combined? I mean, how do you go back and forth?
Yeah, I would definitely say it is combined art and science for sure. I love the creative side. That's what I love, and I enjoy it. But you have to have that other analytical, facts and what's going on in the data. I mean, that's extremely important, or like the creative side is pointless, right?
Yeah.
So, it's definitely a balance of both. And that's why, having a robust, diverse team is extremely important too, because while I personally have kind of both of those sides, a lot of people don't, and we need to find that right balance of, this amount of people on my team or the analytical, and they're in charge of this. And then, these are the go-to for the creative. And of course, everyone has a little bit of a blend, but I would definitely say it's a really good blend of both.
Really? What is there one that comes more naturally than the other?
Probably the creative side. Yeah. I think that's definitely more natural for me.
Now, when we have you back on the show in 3 years, what are we going to be talking about? What is your life going to look like?
We will be talking about the Mod Academy, which is my
really nice.
Yes, my training overall umbrella training program that I'm creating, which will have multiple, trainings within it. So the first one will be on SEO. So it's going to be called Stupid Simple SEO, Your Roadmap for SEO Success. And there'll just be some SEO video training courses teaching entrepreneurs and small business owners how they can succeed with SEO without it being crazy, complicated. So really, when we talk next, I will, have lots of success stories in terms of the training realm. And I hope to have reached lots of people and helped lots of people grow their businesses by that time.
Who's that going to be focused on? Is that, you said small business owners and entrepreneurs?
Yep. Okay. So we kind of have two verticals here. So really, I have the agencies and that marketing entrepreneurs that, we're continuing to, build that out. But at the same time, we have which they can kind of use these trainings as well. And we're actually talking with other agencies and having discussions on people licensing our training as well, because as you know, the online education space is just booming right now, and lots of people are trying to get in on this. So, to start with these mini courses, if you will, on, let's say, SEO and social media and whatnot, pretty much, anyone can leverage that. Even other agencies, let's say they hire a new employee that isn't 100% comfortable with SEO. Well, they could still utilize our SEO training, right? And then you have the small business owners that are too small to, to hire someone for this, or even hire a legit agency that actually gets results. And so they just need to know the basics of what they need to do, right? So that's one side. And then the other side is helping. I eventually want to have a course too on helping people who want to start their own marketing company. So maybe they have a full-time job, they have a full-time job right now, but they're a marketer. Let's say they're a CMO or marketing director, and they've been, tossing around the idea of going out on their own and being a marketing consultant. And so we already have actually resources called the Mod Agency Bundles in place, where we give away we sell our proposal templates and our checklists and our resources and our sales decks and questions to ask, your prospects, and pretty much everything they could possibly need to jumpstart it. But in addition to that, I really want to create a course that helps people, start their own marketing consultancy, whether it's literally just, a consultancy and that's all they're doing and they don't want to hire a team, that's totally fine. Or if they want to hire, a full-blown team like I did. So that is actually one of my goals too. And that's what I'm super passionate about, is helping others kind of do what I'm doing, but in their own way, because everyone's different. I mean, even web design, that would work too. Someone is a web designer for a company and they really want to go out on their own. Same concept. They just need those resources and the systems and steps that have been proven to work.
It's funny. There are days when I'm sitting here thinking, I have finally figured it out. This whole marketing, SEO, all this good stuff. Boom, here it is. I'm going to do this. And then the next day, it completely changes.
Yes.
How do you keep track of all of this? How do you stay on top of the new trends and the new things? Google this, Facebook that, different algorithms and things like that. How do you do it? And does anybody really know?
Yeah, no one really ever can the Google is a different beast.
Yeah,
so
altogether.
I don't ever worry about Google algorithms ever, because if you do it right, and that's again why I wanted to create this course on the stupid simple SEO, because it really is. At the end of the day, it's really simple. And the fundamentals of SEO have not changed, and I don't think they will change for a while. Yes, people are using social media now, and so you have to think of that, but the algorithms are mainly just, crappy content is going to be gone, don't link spam and so it's just, I don't ever worry about those. Of course, I keep up on them and know, but if you're doing things the right way, that doesn't matter. Now with social media, it's constantly changing, and that's just a matter of having the right people in your network. And again, having awesome team members that love social media more than you do. I'm not a huge social media person. So I look to my team, and of course blogs. I'm constantly reading, the top blogs, Social Media Examiner and Moz and everything else. So I think it's a matter of keeping up with, the big blogs, the big digital marketing blogs, and subscribing to them and checking out what's going on. And then of course having awesome marketers around you that can also help keep you in the loop.
Well, I'm glad there are people like you out there, because it would have been way too much for me, and I'm sure a lot of other entrepreneurs as well. So congratulations. Now, as we start to kind of wrap this up a little bit, I have 3 more questions for you.
Sure.
And this next one you can take whichever way you want. We have an audience of entrepreneurs, like we mentioned, global entrepreneurs that are doing amazing things. They're in the trenches. They're doing a lot of cool things. What rules should we be breaking?
Ooh. Interesting question. Rules should you be breaking in terms of anything, not just marketing specific?
Whatever your mind goes to, yes.
Well, first, because we were literally just talking about that. So, the client is always right rule.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I would say you could probably break that, because
Nice.
There's some crazy clients out there that are not right. So don't let, just get that notion out of your head. Yes, you should always put the client first, and if they're reasonable, of course, and do everything you can to make them happy. But that's one thing that I hear people saying over and over again. The customer's always right. And I'm like, no, because sometimes you have some really crazy, irrational people, and, they think that your team is doing something wrong, when at the end of the day, it has nothing to do with our team. It's them. So that's one thing.
And I'm pretty sure with just this, talking to you for the last 45 minutes, that you have no problem telling them that they're wrong.
Right.
In a tactful way, I'm sure. But
I don't.
Yeah, good.
You're exactly right. And that's what I would say on that note is don't be afraid to speak up, especially if it's a client, even if it is a high paying client, and don't be afraid to fire them either. You're allowed to fire clients. Like if it's not working out and you're not making money at the end of the day, or it's stressed out and you're just having negative energy, it's not worth it. So tell them bye-bye.
Nice. I love it. At the end of the day, how do you want to be remembered?
Good question. I guess as a helpful and, I don't know, a helpful resource for marketing, a helpful, personable marketing specialist that, is really out trying to help entrepreneurs and small business owners grow their business, really. And that's really what I want to be known for.
Good answer. I love it. For those that are in the trenches, and maybe you kind of already answered this with the entire thing, but is there any specific advice overall as entrepreneurs that we can kind of take from you, something that we can apply into our lives right now to kind of help us get to that next level, whether it's marketing or just entrepreneurship in general?
Yeah, I'll answer this just for entrepreneurship in general. Network, whether it's in person or online or on the phone. I think just meeting people and getting people's viewpoints, even when you're starting a business, before you start investing, let's say you have an idea and it's not so broad like marketing agency, but let's say you have an idea for an app or something like that. Like before you spend your hard-earned money and time and resources, just start talking to people, get their feedback, see what they think. And then once you do have a business, continue talking to people and meeting people and networking and seeing if you can help them, and really just approach it as, as a helpful, and like you're really just trying to help people, and your product or your service will do that. And so I think it's really, really important, especially starting off, that you invest that time. Like even if you say, an hour a day, I'm going to message people on LinkedIn and follow people on Twitter and reach out to people that I know, can be a great role model, or, might have a network of people that I could, help in some way, shape, or form. And so I think just, surround yourself with awesome people and network.
Great advice. And it's funny because you'd be surprised at how many people are more than happy to give back, to spend a little bit of time with you, to help you. You just have to ask. So that's perfect advice. That's great advice.
Yep.
I love it. So now for those that are listening and want to get to know you a little bit better, or what you're doing, where can we find you online?
Yeah, so I am super active on Twitter. So my handle is Mandy Modgirl on Twitter, and I tweet multiple times a day. So that, and then modgirlmarketing.com is our website, and I have another personal website too, but that should be enough, I would say. And then we have, lots of upcoming workshops, free workshops and training courses. So we have a sign up for that. It's just modgirl.consulting/workshops, but you can pretty much find that anywhere.
Perfect. So Outliers, you can go to outliermagazine.co. That's outliermagazine.co. First of all, subscribe to the podcast, rate, review it, share it with your friends. But there you're going to find, we're going to have Mandy's website, social media links. Feel free to reach out to her. Obviously, she's the real deal. She's doing some amazing things. Mandy, we really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us, for your words of wisdom, for just kind of telling us your story and what you're working on. Thank you for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks so much, Ever. I enjoyed it.
Perfect. So Outliers, we'll talk to you tomorrow.